I was so tone deaf to God, I needed a car crash to get my attention. What is your burning bush that will stop you dead in your tracks? How much do we have to endure before we believe that there could be something greater? Welcome to PSA. My name is Felix if you're new around here. And if you're back, I want to thank you so much. Can you believe it? We are at episode 40. Shoosh. Well, the way my mind works, 40 reminded me of this milestone in my skateboarding career, but it also reminded me of Moses wandering in the desert. Yeah, I know, but that's how I'm wired. Go figure. My first 40 years seemed to be razor focused, but the next felt like they could be heading into the wilderness, like Moses. When I turned 40, I thought to myself, I can't keep lying about my age because everyone's catching up. So I decided to announce my age in the skateboard industry by doing this video part that consisted of one trick for every year of my life. So 40 at 40. This would go on to become kind of like a industry standard to celebrate your birthday age with as many tricks as you are old in kind of like a little video part. The response from kids was like, whoa, I can't believe I can skate into my 40s. And a lot of dads were reaching out and they were saying, I'm so motivated to get back into it and skate with my kid. I've always felt like a deeper responsibility to the culture that I'm involved in because I believe that relationships are everything. So I do my best to avoid shallow ones. Moses in the scriptures goes through spells of like 40 years before committing to his call from God. And kind of like Moses over the years, I felt this unsettling feeling where I've wondered if I'm doing what I've been placed here to do. Have you ever felt like that? And there seems to be so many things that play a part in being unsure. Your successes, your failure, your health or lack thereof, your effectiveness, questioning, was that feeling of fulfillment only supposed to be for that season? There's a verse in the scriptures where Moses, after tending to sheep of all things for 40 years, has God appeared to him in a burning bush. And I know this sounds crazy to say, and even crazier to believe this, but I kind of wish I could have had this level of clarity with a sign like that on what was next for me. It's in Exodus 3, and I want to start in verse 2. It says, there the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a burning bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it would not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over there and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, here I am. Don't come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you're standing is holy ground. Then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. That sounds like a place that I want to be at. I hope you guys didn't miss that. God says, I will deliver my people. Not that Moses will, but he does give Moses a role to play in it. We have to be careful of a God complex where maybe a leader or a pastor steps on a platform, but he believes he should be put on a pedestal. God is the great I am, and we are the great are nots. But don't get it twisted. With him, everything is possible. Just like Moses, We have to bring the message, but it's God who's doing the delivering. And God goes on to say, so now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But you might be saying, Felix, what about the burning bush? Isn't that crazy? Well, in this time, there was no scriptures to refer to. So if God was going to speak to you, he was going to have to make his presence known in some way. Now, I know I said I would have probably wanted a burning bush, but realistically, I think that's just me being selfish. And I'm thinking that I need this extravagance of a manifestation from God for it to be clear to me. But if you're familiar with the scriptures, many years down the line, the disciples had the scriptures and they were walking with Jesus and would regularly see miracles, but would still have doubt. So would you and I really change if we witnessed a miracle, or would it wear off and we would maybe question God again? I believe to doubt is part of the human condition, but we have to have faith because that's where we find transformation. The way that God chooses to appear often has a greater meaning. In this instance, the burning bush before God tells Moses to go and free his people, I believe is symbolic to what his people have already been withstanding, the suppression, that they are still so resilient, just as this bush burning, but not disappearing. How much do we have to endure before we believe that there could be something greater? Might we have already had a miracle in our lives, but because it's not one of these from the scriptures, we can't accept it as a miracle? What is your burning bush that will stop you dead in your tracks? Many years ago, I fell asleep at the wheel and I jumped up a sidewalk. I took out a telephone pole and I totaled my van into a building. I somehow crawled out of the window and stood there in the rain thinking that I had actually passed away. As I regained my consciousness, I began screaming to God, why? Why have you spared me? Of all things to say. Since that night, I have felt this burden of being spared for a greater purpose. I was so tone deaf to God, I needed a car crash to get my attention. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, a burning bush would have been a lot more pleasant. The voice of God could have been nice. But even when you don't have clarity on what to do, you know what you can do. Good. We can give to others. We can be present and thoughtful, kind, and aware of what others are going through. We may not know the whole plan, but we can still help some of our people get from here to there. In difficulty, we can loan some levity, and maybe even like Moses, lead some of our people from captivity to freedom. You know, Moses could have easily stayed living in the palace, but he had a burden for his people. Do you have a burden for your people? I know I do. Moses' life has so many highlights, but did you know he was sent down the river in a basket? He never reconnected with his childhood family. He had a stutter. He was stubborn. He had some anger management issues, to say the least. He even murdered someone. So please, please do not excuse yourself from your calling. God can use every one of us for good. Let's keep an eye out for our burning bush. And let's stay sensitive to God moving in our lives so it doesn't take a life-threatening incident to raise our awareness. And although I can't say that I'm there yet, I can say I'm on my way. And if we're lucky, it won't take us another 40 years like it took Moses to figure it out. So until next week, let's love more, and I'll see you at the next PSA. There's so much more to the story of Moses. I feel like I shortchanged you guys, but the good thing is the scriptures are right there for you. Check them out. Check out Moses' story. Check out some of these videos. Share this with somebody who comes to mind. That's why we do this, for you and I to get from here to there, from captivity to freedom. Take care, guys.